If you are currently in your first trimester or are hoping to conceive in the next few weeks or months, then you're definitely going to want to watch this video. This is all about tips to survive the first trimester. Hey guys, it's Amanda from theintuitivewife.com, and today's video is all about how to survive the first trimester. I recently posted another video that was all about my experience during the first trimester, which was a time that felt like the longest 3 months of my entire life. So I thought I would follow that up by providing you with some tips and tricks, some things that helped me, and also some things that I have learned since then that might hopefully help you too. Okay, so tip number 1 is, I think, the most important tip ever, and that is to make sure that your spouse or partner is fully engaged during your pregnancy. The first trimester, I think, was much harder on me than either one of us expected, so basically everything fell on him. He was the one that made the meals, cleaned the kitchen, took out the trash, did the vacuuming, walked the dog, all while working full-time and still managing to pass me some Kleenex and giving me a hug when I had a breakdown. Make sure that your spouse or partner is on board and that they're aware that this is not going to be an easy time for you and you are going to need their support, especially if your first trimester is very difficult, where movement is hard, you are always tired, you're always nauseous, you're always sick. Then you're definitely going to need that extra support. Tip number 2 is to do whatever you feel is right when it comes to telling people. Some people are very paranoid and don't want to tell anyone until they're like 21 weeks or something. That's their choice. If you are super excited and you just want to start telling everybody and you're, I don't know, 6 weeks in, tell them. Like, this is your pregnancy, this is your decision. And I mean, not to be negative in any way. I heard someone say, tell the people that you would want to be around you if something were to go wrong. So if that's something that helps you look at it, be like, hey, I know it's a little bit early, but I really want to tell my best friend or my mom. Go tell your best friend and your mom, because chances are if something goes wrong, you're going to want to call them anyways. I feel like there's a lot of fear and a lot of pressure around the first trimester, and it's very easy to feel secluded and alone. If you feel like it's the right decision to tell people sooner than what the rules say you should, tell whoever you feel you need to tell. Something you might want to consider is telling your boss. Of course, this will depend on the relationship that you have with each other, but it might be helpful to let someone in, because the first few weeks especially are pretty terrible. Especially if you're tired, you're throwing up, you might be late for some meetings, you might be late logging into work, you're just not going to be at your best. So it just might be helpful to have your boss on notice. Just give them a heads up. Tip number 3 is going to therapy. Now, I know this might sound a little weird, and I think everybody should go to therapy anyways, because we all got our problems. Pregnancy is like a huge mental game, and it's something that people don't really talk about. They talk about your stomach growing, your boobs changing, your food cravings. They don't really talk about how much it screws with your mind. It really does take a toll on you on so many different levels. So I think having someone to talk things out with, someone who doesn't have any skin in the game, is a really good idea. Tip number 4 is to give yourself space. This, I think, was one of the hardest for me. I knew that, you'd get tired and you just wouldn't really feel too great. It's hard to not feel that extra guilt when you are trying to give yourself space to rest. Your energy has completely dropped down. You don't really have a whole lot of energy to do anything at all. Sometimes just making a sandwich or taking the dog for a walk is utterly exhausting. Same with taking a shower. So if you are someone who, like me, had their very rigid morning routines, their journal, their tea, their quiet time, maybe their meditation before work, give yourself space and accept that that might not be doable today. Today, the only success you may have is the fact that you got yourself out of bed, because a lot of days that alone is a huge struggle. Show yourself some compassion. go easy on yourself, even though I know it is very difficult to do most days. There is just no time for judgment when you are already feeling this terrible. I mean, there's no time or space for judgment anyways, but we are always much harder on ourselves than we are on others. And being hard on yourself is not going to change how you feel or what's happening in your life right now. Okay, tip number 5, I think we're on, is a little dramatic, but it is cancel all your plans. This is completely dependent on you, of course. I myself was basically laying in the fetal position all day, every day. So just the thought of getting up to get changed to leave the house, I couldn't handle it. I mean, I couldn't really do anything even if I wanted to. Tip number 6 is to find reputable sources. When you are experiencing something for the first time, I think it's just become habit for us to just pick up our phone and Google it. Hopefully you know by now that if you Google anything and it takes you to WebMD, it must mean that you are dying. If you have nausea, you are dying. If you have a fever, you are dying. Have some stomach pain, you're probably dying. WebMD is great, but take everything with a grain of salt. Find some reputable sources. Follow some local midwives or doulas or OBs in your area. If you want to, you can follow some mom bloggers, people who have experienced certain things before. It might help you to feel better knowing things that they have experienced and maybe how they dealt with it. Just try to refrain from Googling literally everything, because when you're already feeling like a bag of poo, having your phone tell you that you are either dying or should go to the hospital because you might have COVID and will probably die from that too, is just not really what you need to be dealing with. So try and find reputable sources, try and stay calm, and you probably don't need to Google everything when it happens, but I totally understand the temptation. Tip number 7 is to book a midwife or OBGYN basically as soon as possible. I don't know what it's like in the States, but in Canada, they essentially tell you to make an appointment as soon as the pee is dry. That's literally what I was told. If you aren't pregnant yet, it doesn't hurt to do a little bit of research now to have a better idea of who you want to be working with when it does happen. And if you are newly pregnant and have no idea what to do right now, call your doctor or nurse and set up your first appointment. Don't be alarmed, again, at least in Canada, because I think it's a much shorter timeline in the States. Don't be alarmed if your first appointment isn't until 10 weeks. Those 10 weeks are going to feel like torture because your body is changing, you feel like crap, and you have about 1,000,001 questions and you feel like you have no one to ask, especially if you are someone who is waiting until week 12 or 16 or 24 to tell people that you're pregnant. Tip number 8, stock up on your favorite foods, but not too much. Don't go to Costco and buy 17 bags of Miss Vickie's chips, no matter how tempted you are. Food cravings are a real thing. So are food aversions. You will also very easily get sick of foods. You might really want those Miss Vickie's chips and you might have some every single day for like 1 or 2 or 3 weeks, and then all of a sudden you want nothing to do with Miss Vickie's chips. Now you've moved on to lemonade and chocolate chip cookies. Don't stock up too much, but stock up just enough where your future self will thank you. Tip number 9 is scheduling naps. Try to schedule a little bit of time for some free time so you can walk away and take a nap, because you will need it. You will feel like a zombie. You will probably feel like you can't even function and that you might fall asleep just standing up. So I definitely recommend naps because you're not always going to have the ability to just power through like you used to, especially if you are also trying to reduce or eliminate caffeine completely. That's also going to mess with your body. If you're someone who is already drinking 1, 2, 3 cups of coffee a day, and now all of a sudden you're going cold turkey, that's already hard enough. So adding a first trimester fatigue in there and potentially insomnia as well just makes it that much more difficult. So if you can, try to schedule naps. At the very least, make sure you are going to bed early. Even if that means 7:30 or 8 o'clock and you feel like a 90-year-old, your body will thank you. Tip number 10 is to always have food handy. Either a meal that has already been pre-cooked that you could just quickly throw in the microwave to heat up, or a bag of snacks, whether it's, I don't know, crackers or trail mix or something. Always have food handy wherever you are, whether it's you're at your desk at work, whether you're sitting on the couch watching TV, whether you are going to be in your car for the next 15 minutes. Always have food handy. Hunger strikes, and it strikes fast. When I got hungry, it was literally like a 30-second window to get some food in my system in order to avoid nausea. The longer I waited after those 30 seconds, the worse the nausea would be. Okay, so those are all my tips for you. If you haven't checked it out yet, be sure to watch my video, which I will link up above, on maternity clothes shopping, and I will catch you guys in the next video.